G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. Let's go. I lost control on a date in front of her whole family. What can I do now? I joined a website for dating to try and get more dates. This was my only intent. I've been working too much for 2 years at my new job. I just wanted to have more fun. I got an email and set up a date with this girl. It's my 5th date from the site and it's been fun. But this one girl was like one of those love at first sight moments when we met at a restaurant. I saw her and she was perfect. I tried to play it cool, but I felt like I could just cut ties with all the girls I've dated and just commit to her. Physically, she was everything that I could ever ask for and exactly my type. Her personality seemed about a 10 out of 10. About 30 minutes into sitting down, we didn't even order because we were just talking. The chemistry was as good as it was with my first love when I was 13. It was perfect. Sparks were flying. I thought I was done and ready to commit here. But then she tells me to forget about ordering food, let's go somewhere else, and she has this idea. She won't say much, and I like surprises, so I didn't ask much. We jumped in my car and drove to this restaurant about 20 minutes away, kind of out of town. It was halfway up a mountain near a ski resort. I'm familiar with the area, so no big deal. We walk in and her family is celebrating her aunt's birthday. There was only family and a lot of it, about 40 people. She introduces me and everybody was happy to meet me and real nice. Everybody also knew that she was out on a first date. They were asking her stuff like, "Is this the guy? Is this your date? Is this the one?" And all of a sudden, I wasn't so cool and relaxed. I felt heavy pressure to be on my best behavior. It was high pressure to the 3rd degree. But everybody was nice, so that helped. We sat down and I started being questioned by her older sister, her aunt, and another lady that I forgot her relation to my date. The mum started kind of defending me and telling me to back off and let me eat. But the interrogating continued. After I don't know how long, they turned to my date and jokingly said, "We approve." And then I was able to kind of get my bearings about me for a minute. I was totally off balance all night, just tense. I was afraid the back of my shirt would get that big wet spot because I felt sweat on my back. So the sister brings her cute little girl and lets me hold her, and she and my date started taking pictures of me holding her and somebody else's baby boy as well. I started to feel like the tone of it all was that we were a couple. I kind of felt like I was married to her, and these nice people were my in-laws. After a couple of hours, probably closer to 3, everybody was kind of tiring out and everything began to wind down. Keep in mind, her car is still at the other restaurant down a hill. Then her dad suddenly asks me jokingly what my intentions are with his daughter, though I can't remember how he phrased the question. Everybody looked at the table and looked at me, which is about half the people there. I guess I was exhausted from all the questioning. I was questioned by multiple people, multiple times, and the pressure of it all, because I kind of lost it. He asked the question, I looked across the table at her, and she told her dad to stop it. Her dad smiles and jokingly says that he'd really like to hear my response, and her uncle, I think, also said that he'd like to know, jokingly. I looked at my date and said, "Can I talk to you alone for a minute?" To which her dad laughs loudly and says, "I made him nervous." So everybody is laughing now, and I guess it was a big joke. Then I said to my date, "Hey, can I talk to you alone for a minute?" I stood up in place, kind of. It was one of those long bench seats and I couldn't push it back because other people were sitting on it. And then her sister, I think, says, "Oh, there are no secrets in this family. Speak your mind." People then laugh again and everybody starts making jokes about not having secrets, and this man who married into the family somehow tells me that he remembers being in my place and he says, "Let me give you some advice. The best thing to do right now is to speak your mind and be honest." Then others join in and echo his sentiment, all jokingly I think. So I looked at my date and she says something like, "You can tell me anything here. We're all family." She also, I think, was joking, but I had started to lose my ability to tell when people were joking and when they were serious. So the dad says, "Wait, I haven't gotten an answer to my question." So finally, I speak directly to the dad and said, "I'd like to discuss that with her first." but I regretfully laughed as I said it. So her dad says, "I asked you first, I want to know." I turn to my date and she says something like, "Go ahead, you can tell me. I'm a big girl, I can handle it." So I said, "Okay," and sat down and then took a couple of breaths while her dad kind of quieted everybody down. I started with, "I think I made a huge mistake." It all spiraled down from there. I said harsh things like that I felt like I was having a bad dream where I was suddenly married. I questioned her intentions in bringing me there. I said stuff like, "What were you thinking? Yes, I liked you, but I just met you, and right now I know your aunt." I pointed at her sitting next to me, "better than I know you." I think she was humiliated, but I couldn't stop. The more I spoke, the more bad stuff came out. Total effing tailspin. I said I wanted to find someone special, but I don't want to skip the first 29 dates and skip to date 30, which is what I'd done that night. Then people started interrupting and chiming in and suggested that she and I slow down and have a real first date. I wasn't having it. I was out of control. I said, "No, it's too late for that. I feel robbed here. I wanted to meet this girl, get to know her, date her, and maybe fall for her. But now it's like we're engaged and her whole family is here, and there are all these expectations. We skipped the getting to know each other and dating part, so I feel robbed." Then I said yet another thing that I regret. I said, "It's a huge red flag," with an emphatic gesture that I asked for a minute alone with you to talk, and this is what I got instead? I added something like, "You're all great and a great family, but the lack of certain boundaries is a huge red flag for me. I would never let my relationship become family business." My date interrupts me at this point and says, "Okay, so let's talk in private. Let's go outside and talk." "I'm sorry I didn't give you that minute. Let's go outside and talk privately. I'll give you all night." She was visibly shaken and I could tell tears were inevitable. I stood up again and, realizing that I had insulted all of them, I just quietly walked out. I felt really bad because they were all nice and had nothing but the best intentions for me. They love her, and they literally were telling me that I was good enough, which should have been a compliment. But I somehow took it the wrong way and spat in their face. I didn't even drink. Edit. Sorry, I proofread and changed some minor stuff. Also, I added some stuff to the statement below. We walked out and I let her have it again. She's now sobbing uncontrollably. She apologized and pretty much begged for us to start over, and I told her I wasn't into it and I left her there. I drove home and couldn't help but wonder if I overreacted. I couldn't sleep and I woke up this morning feeling like I probably did overreact, and now I feel like crap. But it's done. I can't undo it. And let me ask this more clearly. Should I call her and apologize for humiliating her and insulting her family, or should I just move on? Or should I wait and see if she calls and apologize then? In the comments, I'm sorry, I usually try to give serious advice, but this is hilarious. I think one day very soon you'll be able to look back on this and laugh. To put it in perspective, you thought you had a good thing going for about an hour, and then she royally screwed up. Brush yourself off. It was nothing, just an hour of good chemistry. The girl for you will be able to make you feel that good for longer than that. This was my reaction too. This is comedic gold right here. No matter how bad of a date this was, it'll make a hell of a story to tell later on. Oh man, I wouldn't say this was your fault in the slightest. You were on the first date from hell. No one in their right mind has their date meet their entire family on the first date. And you just reacted as you would be expected to meet their interrogations all night long. On top of that, her family sounds like they would be extremely hard to deal with in the future, even if this does work out somehow. They were prodding and judging you the second you walked in, so you shouldn't think that it was such a big compliment for them to accept you. They were basically seeing if you were right to marry her daughter, which is insane for a first date. Honestly, I don't know if you should ever want to see her again if this is how her family is, and if this is how she thinks first dates should go. It sounds like she had planned for you to meet everyone, especially because they kept saying, "Is this the one you told us about?" Showing that she had talked you up a lot, even before you'd seen each other. Admittedly, you probably shouldn't have voiced any of your concerns at the table, and instead just went outside and waited for her to join you, or even left, as that was a volatile situation. But the rest of your actions sound very reasonable to me. I'm surprised you kept at it for as long as you did. And edit, rereading the first part, I'm even more convinced that she wanted you to meet her family the entire time, which is the biggest red flag of this entire post. She wanted you guys to leave the restaurant you met at and proceeded to go straight to where her family was. This was her idea the whole time. OP says, I don't think that she planned for me to meet her family. I think that was just spontaneous. She told them about me because it sounds like she told them about my profile and our emails and texts and stuff. I also forgot to mention that she doesn't have a profile. Her friend or relative has one, and they were browsing together when they messaged me from that person's profile. So I agreed to a blind date, but she had seen my pictures. I don't know how this is relevant, but that's what happened. I have to agree with the other guy that it does sound like she planned on introducing her to her family the whole time. If the family is that close, then it seems odd to me that she would schedule a first date on the same day as her aunt's birthday party and presumably miss most of the party staying at the original restaurant you were at. I think you did the best you could in that situation, which is incredibly odd. Taking someone to meet the entire family and having the family grill them on date 1 is a red flag. Oh man, this was kinda hilarious. I felt like I was reading someone's nightmare fuel. Don't do it. If you do, it might give her the idea that you still might be interested. Even if you are interested, I suggest you don't move forward with this relationship. Yes, I am sure she did not expect the whole family to turn into mini inspectors, but damn, she should have known better. You were right, that's like the 30th date type situation. But this whole date was a huge red flag, as I also make an emphatic gesture. OP says, I rarely use the word huge, but when I do, this emphatic gesture just comes out. Sometimes people laugh, sometimes they make fun of it, but yes, it was ugly and my emphatic gesture didn't help. If you owe her an apology, then she owes you one right back. She put you in a really screwed up situation after less than an hour of knowing you. Did you react a little overboard? Yes, but it was warranted, and I don't really think that anything you said to her or her family was necessarily out of line. They told you to be honest, and you gave them exactly what they asked for. It's not like you called them names or wished them ill. I say move on. If she contacts you, then apologize, but if she doesn't, move on. OP replies, they did ask for it. I would almost say they begged for it. They really thought that in speaking my mind, I would say, I love her, I want to marry her. And now, on to the update. I just want to clear something up. My date never had a profile on the dating site. She was browsing through with her friend who has a profile, and they were looking for a date for her friend. It was the friend who originally messaged me to set me up with my date. Also, I deleted my profile. I'm totally done with online dating. I've been in this city 2 years now, so I'm just gonna go out and meet people the old-fashioned way. It just feels less risky somehow. I know this is gonna disappoint many of you, but I decided to speak with her. The very day I posted here was the day immediately after our date. That same evening, she called me, but I didn't answer because I was in the shower, so she sent me a text that said, "Do you hate me too much to talk to me?" And I texted back, "I don't hate you." She responded, "Can I call you?" And I texted, "Yes." So she called and immediately went into full apology damage control mode. I told her that it was okay, that I was already over it and I had moved on. She asked if there was any way that we could meet because there were some things that she wanted to say in person and she wanted for us to part with a handshake and all of that. It kind of sounded like she needed closure. So I agreed to meet her downtown to talk the following Tuesday. Not a date, no lunch, no coffee, we just met at a park. We met, and I knew she was still the one. She told me she loves me, and we decided to try it again. We went on 3 dates, and I proposed, and she said yes. We're gonna get married in December. No big wedding, we're gonna fly to Las Vegas and do it there. The plan is to spend Christmas as a married couple. Just kidding, I'm not that frickin' crazy. Hope you're still reading. The rest of the update continues on the next paragraph. We met at a park just to talk. I had been so disappointed because I felt that the spark and the butterflies in the stomach would be gone, that I wouldn't like her anymore. As soon as I saw her, this was confirmed. There was no spark. She looked great, but I just didn't feel it. It kind of crushed me. So I decided to listen to her as she apologized again and told me she had really liked me on that first date and got carried away and made a very dumb decision that she wishes she could take back. She added that her mum had pulled her aside when we arrived and right from the beginning told her that if she liked me, she'd just made a big mistake by bringing me. I guess her mum pretty much cringed when she saw us walk in that night. Also, I should say that her mum was the only one defending me that night and practically pulling people off me like her religious uncle who asked me if I'd been saved. I remembered that pretty well, but I guess her mum came down on her hard for not just having a first date. But she also said that things got even crazier after I left. Her mum wasn't there for my rant. She had driven somebody home and came back after I left. She found my date outside crying and was told what happened. Her mum, I guess, stormed into the restaurant and went off on everybody for ganging up on me. My date says she called them a bunch of out-of-control animals. The whole thing was reduced to a big finger-pointing fest by everybody. The mum was furious because the story is that my date's dad left them when my date was 9. He had some sort of breakdown and became an alcoholic. He became verbally and emotionally abusive, so the mum kicked him out to protect the kids. He refused to get his act together and disappeared for almost 10 years. So the mum hates when the dad acts like he has a say in his kids' lives since he was gone and just came back less than 2 years ago. But he still lives over an hour away. A lot of the people that were there, I guess, live far away, and they flew in for the aunt's birthday. Supposedly, most of them she only sees once a year at most. So the mum went off on him especially hard and questioned his right to have any say in his daughter's decision to date anybody. She embarrassed him in front of everybody for having overstepped so many boundaries. So she told me this stuff because she wanted me to know that she was very sorry that she let her dad act all fatherly when it wasn't the time and it wasn't his place. These were her words, not mine. In a way, I'm glad the mum wasn't there to witness me going off, because then I would have felt really bad. But come to think of it, she probably would have stepped in and prevented it. She asked me if there was a way that we could have that first date again, but I said no. There is no way that I can pretend that we're meeting for the first time after all of that. I know too much about her. I feel way too gone past that first date mode right now, and maybe I need to take a break from formal dates. I did apologize to her for not telling her right away how uncomfortable I was, and for going off on her outside the restaurant. I told her that there were a lot of nice people there that I felt bad about, but that I'm sure they understand me because they seemed reasonable. As I was talking to her, I could see how much better she felt that I had given my own apology. Her face went from subdued and sorry to kind of hopeful and semi-happy. She started to get back her glow and her spunk. We started talking about other stuff, what I do at work, my hobbies, and some other casual stuff. The more I talked, the more she glowed. I felt bad because she showed up looking kind of fragile and contrite. She looked vulnerable, but by the end of our conversation, she was smiling and looked more sure of herself. I tried to show my sense of humor and made her laugh. I felt kind of sorry for her. I made it my goal to send her home smiling. I kind of started to feel that spark again after she started smiling and laughing more. She has a great laugh. It's really cute and innocent. It felt a lot like it did at the restaurant. Her awesomeness comes back when she's comfortable. She definitely does it for me. I walked her to her car, and we agreed that another date is probably not a good idea right now. She wanted to meet my yoga teacher because she's the best. My date, I feel weird not tying her name, has said that she needs to learn to relax more when she's stressed out. So I met her at yoga class the following Thursday, on the 7th, and made the introduction. My date has been coming to the same 3 yoga sessions that I do weekly. We talk there. She still flirts with me and hints that we should meet for hot tea, as neither of us is a coffee drinker. I walk her to her car after class because it's dark by then. I still like her, and I can tell she feels the same way. The spark is all the way back now, but all those comments I got here on my original post about her being crazy are still completely lodged in my head. They have me second guessing myself about staying in touch with her. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but whatever it is gonna take time. In the comments, she made a mistake. Sometimes Reddit is a vicious and cutthroat place. Follow your best judgment. If you want to give her another chance, do it. You should always be careful about taking advice from people on the internet. They have nothing invested in your life. Most of the people giving advice here are cynical. He's not right for you. Phew, you dodged a bullet. Leave and don't turn back. I remember the original thread. Everyone bashed on the date and didn't bother telling the OP to listen to her side of the story. Forgiveness. How can one be a person who gives sound relationship advice and not give a chance for forgiveness? I think that was mostly because it wasn't a should I give her a second chance kind of post. It was more a am I a dick kind of post. People were going off on the date because OP needed to hear that his reaction was totally understandable and that what his date did was grade A crazy. Based on this update, I do think a second chance might be in order, but I do stick by most of my comments in that first thread. The only things that I feel are no longer relevant were the comments that the date had planned to take OP to this dinner from the start because none of us knew that it wasn't the real birthday party, but a follow-up event. We all thought that this was her aunt's actual birthday party. There are tons of varying opinions here. I think it's time for you to get off Reddit, put everyone else's advice out of your mind, and do what you really think. OP says, well, I did post my experience here and ask for help. I sort of felt like I should post an update for a lot of people that were nice enough to take the time to drop me a line. I really wanted to let them know what's happened since my original post. But you're right. I have to do what I really think is right for me. And this is the reality of those Hollywood zany rom-com where the guy randomly meets the quirky family of his date, who immediately loves him and gives him a playful ribbing, and then the couple grows closer with some pithy comments about being hit on by an aunt and finding the family he never had. Forced familial bonding strangers in the course of less than a few hours is terrible, even as a person who loves meeting family. Jesus. That first date is nightmare fuel for me. I went on a second date with a guy who seemed totally normal. He said that he couldn't get a sitter for his toddler and asked if I'd come over for a movie after the kid went to bed. I got there, late, to make sure the kid was asleep, and found out that he lived with family. They kept the toddler up past his bedtime to meet me. I met mum, dad, 2 brothers, a sister, and a cousin. They kept cycling through the kitchen to peek into the living room and stare at me like a zoo animal. There was no third date. In fact, I quit dating apps for quite a while after that. It's a pretty big ask to invite someone to your house on a second date. Personally, I wouldn't do it unless I was already good friends with them. I don't want to have my organs stolen. I spent most of a day with my friend and his other friend. Friend of friends seemed nice and normal, so I accepted when he asked me for a date. Our first date was supposed to be a restaurant, but somehow we wound up at someone's house to help them move. It was furniture and dirty car parts. If I wasn't wearing brand new white shoes and a silk blouse, I would have helped without being asked. Instead, I said that we should just do this another time and would have my friend pick me up. So his mother and father start calling me a princess and such, which leads the guy to start screaming at them to shut the F up, which leads to everyone screaming. I snuck out and started walking home, and I didn't even know where I was. To this day, I'm not even sure if they were actually helping someone move or if they were robbing someone. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.